On mic today, we have Todd Sullivan, author of the book Hollow Men. How are you doing this morning, Todd?
I'm okay. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I am so excited because I've been going through your book. I really love the themes. I love how it's written. Uh, I don't want to give any spoilers. I don't do that, but I will say broadly, it is kind of an Asian version of Lord of the Rings, guys going on a quest. They have a martial arts background. There is some fantastic elements in there. What's the story mean to you?
The story is really important to me. It took about a year to write. It's actually an ongoing series. So there's going to be a second one coming out May 1st. But the story is mostly about artists trying to reach their goal, become successful in producing art, actually. So that's kind of like what the broad theme of the story is, but it's done through magic and swords and sorceries and dragons and things like that. That's the metaphor that's used in order to convey the idea of artists trying to chase their dreams of becoming artists, become successful artists.
Is that parallel to the way that your art came about to you?
Yeah, it is. Trying to become successful in art, however you measure that, is a very long road, and there's a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome. And if you've been doing it for a long time, you see a lot of people actually fail at it. They don't really succeed at it. So as the young men go towards their goal of becoming successful, you see them fall away. You see some of them fail and then some of them succeed. So that's basically what the book is covering.
Is writing a passion for you that you've had to go to over and over again before you finally succeeded at the book?
I wouldn't say writing's a passion. It's something that I do, and I've been doing it for a very long time. You do something long enough, it becomes more of a habit. So I've been doing it since I was elementary school, and it's just something that I just kept at for a very, very long time. So it's not exactly a passion, more as an ingrained habit, I guess. Something that I just continuously do because I've been doing it for so long.
That's actually really positive because a lot of the people I've talked to who say they actually want to be writers and really feel it's their calling don't write a damn thing every day. They don't have the habit, much less the talent. I mean, I truly think that in any case, habit usually comes before talent, not the other way around. So, like I said, I love your book, but even if I hadn't, the fact that you can actually sit down and write puts you 9 steps ahead of everybody else.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of an unfortunate thing. Like for me, I actually write only a single page every day. It's not like I sit down and produce like a massive amount of material like in a day or a week or a month. I just could do it kind of continuously day after day. And like usually when I say that, people are kind of surprised, like one single page every day. But if you write one single page every day, at the end of the year, you have 300, 350 pages of material done. And my novellas tend to be about 100 to 120, 150 pages long. So if I do one single page every single day, that's like 3 novellas in 1 year, which is actually a lot of output. It's a lot of things I've accomplished in 1 year. So yeah, I mean, definitely one page a day as you go along, or just a little bit every single day, gets you a lot done over time.
Now, to set aside the matter of writing for a minute, when it comes to reading, is this a representative thing of what you personally like to read?
It was definitely what I liked to read when I was in high school. Like I read a lot of Dungeons and Dragons in high school. I read a lot of I don't know. Have you ever heard of Dragonlance?
Yes.
Yeah, so I read a lot of Dragonlance. As you know, Dragonlance has a lot of. It started off as just 3 books, but now it's just like all these. I don't know. There's like a lot of Dragonlance books now. I read a lot of Ravenloft. There's a lot of Ravenloft books out there. So I read a lot of D&D type books when I was in high school, and I think that's just really the foundation of my writing. Dungeons and Dragons, Dragonlance, things like that. So it represents more of what I read in my teens and 20s, more so than I read now. I'm like 42 now. But yeah, it represents what I read, I guess, maybe 2 decades ago, more so now.
So if you were to take this, you're working on a trilogy or a series.
It's a series. It's an ongoing
Okay.
series. So there's no real end to it. It's just an ongoing series.
Okay. So you can actually build a whole world on a very broad scale. And, if you're coming from a Dragonlance background, that's probably something you're tinkering with right now.
Right. Yeah. It would probably be as long as new ideas come. It would probably be an addition. But I mean, it's always going to be. So there's like I said, the central theme is people who are trying to achieve something. Like usually artists who are trying to achieve their end goal. So that's the central theme. But
Mm-hmm.
there'll be many different takes upon that. And as long as a new idea comes, then yeah, I'll end up writing another novella based around that new idea, as long as it's kind of in the same mold of the central theme.
Sounds great. So new characters, new missions, possibly even new kingdoms. I'm not trying to
Right.
give it away. No.
No, yeah, definitely new characters, new plots, right? And then as I moved, because I was in South Korea when I wrote that one,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Taiwan now. So at some point, a character, some idea based around Taiwan, as long as it fits into the general theme, may come into play in the Windshine Chronicles.
That was actually what really attracted me to your work. First of all, when we got together and we started talking, as I noticed you were in Taiwan, and I figured that's got to influence the story quite a bit because I mean most fantasy seems to come from European or very very Western Asian cultures, and to get something from Taiwan or South Korea or wherever, that seemed like I wanted something different, and you definitely delivered on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I fused a lot of Western and South Korean ideas. Like I would never say I'm a South Korean writer because I lived there for 10 years, but that's for South Koreans. Like they are South Korean writings. But my writing is a fusion of South Korea and Western ideas
Mm-hmm.
into one thing. So that's what it is. It's basically a fusion of two cultures.
And that's great. I would almost say I would love to read something from a native Korean, but for somebody who came from another place and went to live there, and you could experience it yourself for the first time, and then say, "Hey, what would a story that you could see from your own perspective, what a story from that area would be, and what the kind of drama what would bring out the drama in that." So I think that was really worthwhile.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Uh, so where were you before you went to Taiwan or Korea, rather?
I'm originally from New Orleans,
Okay.
Louisiana, and I left there when I was 18. I was 10 years in Atlanta, and then that's where I got my bachelor's at Georgia State University. And I was 3 years in New York where I got my master's. So it's like New Orleans, Atlanta, New York, and I was in Korea for 10 years, which is almost was this as long as I've been outside of New Orleans. Like Atlanta was only 10 years. So that's the progression. And now I'm in Taiwan. I've been here for like 6 months, and I plan on being here for another 6 to 12 months.
So you've moved around a bit, and I'm guessing you and I kind of have a similar mindset as you like fantasy, you like the genre fiction. Is it hard to find somebody else in the area who really likes that sort of thing? Do you feel on your own, or is there a community there that you've kind of found in the meantime?
I'm gonna say it's hard. Like genre fiction, fantasy, science fiction, horror, mystery. These are actually a lot more popular than literary fiction. So I wouldn't say it's difficult. The thing is that when I was living in South Korea, I tended to spend the majority of my time with South Koreans because I was trying to capture, uh, I guess, the culture and spirit of the country. And you can really only do that if you spend the bulk of my time with the people of the country. Because
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's really quite easy to spend your entire time with like Westerners
Mm-hmm.
or like Americans, Canadians, something like that. So here in Taiwan, I've been trying to spend most of my as much time as possible around people who are Taiwanese instead of people who are Westerners or not Taiwanese. So even though it'd probably be easy for me to find people who are into Dungeons and Dragons, I actually have people who run Dungeons and Dragons campaigns,
Hmm.
but I haven't made Taiwanese people who do that. So that's really the main thing.
Okay. That was kind of what I was getting at is have the people in these countries embrace things like Dungeons and Dragons, like Star Wars, like Indiana Jones, and I've heard mixed things.
They do watch a lot of Western movies, but I don't think it's like they watch it, but I don't think it's something they do too much of. Like uh, mangas, comic books, graphic
Hmm.
novels are really popular in Korea and also in Japan, but you know I don't think they've embraced the Western version of it. Not quite so much, no.
Sure, fair enough, fair enough. And I mean, like we said, they have their own culture and their own traditions that we're just
Right,
starting to scratch the surface of as well.
right, yeah, definitely so.
So, of the things that they have out there, is there anything that you found particularly interesting that we haven't been exposed to here at all?
The graphic novels are really interesting. They are in Korean, so in my Korean, like I studied Korean for 2 years at the university at two different universities, and then of course I lived there for 10 years. But my Korean is still, it's functional. So it takes me a long time to read a graphic novel. It takes me a long time to engage in the material in their language. But their graphic novels are very interesting. There's a lot of I don't want to say religion, but the spiritual aspects of Korea and in the series. There's a lot of ideas about the afterlife and ancestor worship and things like that. So I found that very interesting.
Hmm.
And here in Taiwan, the main religion is Buddhism. And so you see Buddhist temples everywhere. And to them, of course, it's completely normal. But to me, seeing all these dragons, like dragons are a very big part of Taiwanese culture, it seems like, because on all the temples there are dragons. And so I don't know what I'm going to end up writing about Taiwan, but I'm pretty sure dragon is going to play an important feature. And I'm going to also try to learn more about Buddhism as I'm here, because they do things like they burn money for people who have passed away because they think that the money is actually going to be used in the next life. Like these things like this will once again be a fusion of Western ideas, but that kind of stuff I've found very engaging.
Yeah, I mean, uh, when I would be reading your book, I would start a sentence and I would feel like I was in the middle of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And then by the end of the sentence, I would feel like I was in the middle of Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I mean, it was a very perfect transition from one to the other. And that it was the fact that I was bouncing back and forth was exciting because it really felt fresh and new.
Right. Thanks. Thank you. I was trying to go for something very unique. And that's a comment I get a lot that people haven't read something similar to it. Yeah, thank you.
Have you, what kind of feedback have you been getting from people and what kind of people are finding the book?
I think people have been enjoying it. I've gotten quite a few comments, reviews on Amazon, Goodreads, and then different blogs that people had. So, I mean, one that people say that they have never read anything like it before. There's actually a bit of a social message or a moral message throughout the story that I think people have found kind of interesting. I think people want more. Like novellas. I read novellas. Novellas aren't really that common. Mostly, what people enjoy are novels. They like to see a full world. And so one thing people want is more, which is good because I'm actually producing. Like the one that comes out May 1st is called There Will Be One, and this is a continuation of the story with Windshine and these young men who go on these quests. I'm currently halfway through the third one in the series called Dearth. So the people who want more are definitely going to get more. But that's been the most of the comments. That is very unique, new take on kind of a fantasy world. But they also want to see more. They want to see how the story continues.
So if you have a moral overhang to this story, a moral driving to it, what would you say that is at its core? Right? You're talking about the need of a creator to create. Is there a human imperative to that?
Uh, yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to, well, part of it has to do with being a foreigner in wherever country you are, like,
Hmm.
you know, and how difficult or easy, more difficult that is, and whether or not, you know, anyway, it has a lot to do with being a foreigner and like humans being together and things like that. Is this possible? But I mean, I have to give away what the story is about. But yeah, I mean,
Right.
I guess I like the kind of the themes of it, whether or not we are, a global village, or are we
Hmm.
not a global village, kind of.
I could definitely see that. And again, I don't get in the business of spoilers, so though I'm not going to blurb it out. But just thinking of, these people are they're on a mission, they're on a quest even, and that almost always involves a different deal of travel, going far away from the place in which you're comfortable. That's the position you're in. That's the position anybody who travels is in, and sometimes that's the position we're in, even in our own hometowns when we're just out of our realm of comfort, out of our realm of safety.
Right, yeah, enter into different spheres no matter what it is. Like you could do it in your own city, in your own neighborhood, really. But yeah, definitely when you're an expat, living abroad, meeting all these different foreigners from their own separate countries, it's a very interesting experience. And to say everyone's like kind of, uh, you know, there's definitely like an us versus them type deal going on, I
Mhm.
think, at all times. So yeah, yes.
Is there a certain anything that happened to you when you did go over there that kind of spurred you to say, "Wow, there's these people aren't, you know, they're different, and that's not a bad thing, but I really am not comfortable right now, or I really wish things were a little friendlier, or I wish I had another opportunity."
I mean, I definitely think that like whether it's someone from, like I said, like, so I spent most of my time with South Koreans, but at the same time, I'm part of the expat community, so that involves basically everyone who's not South Korean or in Taiwan, everyone who's not Taiwanese.
Hmm.
But I mean, everyone, I think even when we in a foreign bar, they would be called, right? So this is the bar where but mostly non-Taiwanese or non-Koreans are. You never really forget that, oh, that person over there, they're from Russia, they're from Australia, they're from South Africa. Like there's always a bit of a cultural wall, even as you try to interact with each other, that never really goes away. Like in my opinion, at least, it never really goes away. So, and then even then, we become like the expat community. And then there's like the Koreans over there. We're the expat community. We're in the expat bar because everyone kind of congregates together. So the whole separateness, us versus them, I think just stays prevalent. It never really goes away. And that's been my experience living abroad for the past, it's been like 10 and a half years now. Because I did it straight. Like I was in Korea straight for 10 years. And then I went home to America for like 3 months. And then I came here and I've been here for 6 months. So yeah, the whole, you know, everyone's we try, but we're very separate. I mean, in my opinion, we tend to be quite separate no matter how
Hmm.
much we try to kind of merge and come together. That's been my experience, at
It,
least.
it has been, and I mean, I think everybody's kind of feeling that right now because with the health situation being what it is, everybody in the U.S. we're being told to stay in our homes and not go out and not talk to people, and a lot of people were doing that anyway, but now that we're being almost forced to, nobody recognizes the world we're in right now. I mean, even in our own neighborhoods, it's weird to not see cars on the street, to not see people on the sidewalk, to not see people in the stores. And we're literally in our own little bubble, even with our own neighbors. It's weird. And I think that what you're talking about there, it's definitely a shade of it.
Yeah, definitely so. It'd be very interesting to see what happens as this starts to uh, gradually return to some type of normal. To see how things happen, not only in people's neighborhoods and people's cities, but also in the country and just in the world in general. To see, 12 months from now would be very interesting, I think.
Indeed. I'd really like to see what changes and what stays the same. Do we see anything that we can't go back from, or are we changed, or can we really just flip the switch and go back to normal?
But this is what I really enjoy about podcasting. I mean, I really enjoy the fact that I'm talking to you right now. I talked to someone in England like 2 weeks ago. Talked to someone in Australia last week. So this is actually one of the cool things about podcasting, actually, that I get to actually look into the window of other, what's going on in other places of the world and talk to people who have like a different experience of what's going on, particularly now. Like it's just quite cool to me.
It really is. And this is, I think, to say the wave of the future is understating it quite a bit, because the fact that anybody who thinks they can connect and thinks that they have a message can get it out there, and there's no gateway. It's just a matter of putting in the time and effort. And there's so many people out there who have a great story to tell, who have great ideas. And I mean, like I said, you can sit down, you can write a book, you write a page a day, and then it's on Amazon. Then literally anybody in the world can buy it.
Right. Not to sidetrack, but I'm actually watching the old episodes of Star Trek right now. And
okay.
This is actually kind of funny because, they always have the screen that comes down the face. Oh, that's what you see, the face in the background. And this is basically what we're doing.
It really is.
Right.
I don't know. I should probably sit up a little bit because you can see I'm actually wearing my Star Trek shirt.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because it's on Netflix right now. The old episodes of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's 9 o'clock where you are right now, just after 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, 9:21 on April 5th, Sunday.
Yeah, it's 8:21 p.m. on April 4th here in Oklahoma, and these are my pajamas, and I think that the fact that we can actually literally talk straight through the planet without any lag whatsoever about whatever's important, whether it's TV shows or a giant plague, and anybody can do this. Millions of people are doing this right now.
Right. I mean, 2 different time zones too. I'm in the day, you're in the night, so it's just very fascinating.
It really is. And the fact that if this was happening 100 years ago, which for the matter of fact it did, but people wouldn't know what's going on. They wouldn't know how fast things were changing. They wouldn't know how much danger they were in. And if they did hear anything, they would hear it from the government or the newspapers, who would they'd have their own spin. They couldn't just say, Todd, what's going on over there? What are you seeing? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And this is huge. I mean, I'm hoping, and this might be a little pie in the sky here, but we might see a decline in world hostilities if people get down to the saying, we don't have to have the governments talk to each other. The people can just say, hey, do we really need to do this? Is this worth it? When citizens can talk. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I hope so too. I mean, like I said, I'd be interested to see it in 12 months. But yeah, I definitely share your hope. Hopefully so.
Absolutely. So you're working on additions to the book now. Do you have any other projects aside from that?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm in the final edits of There Will Be One, which comes out May 1st, and then I'm halfway through Dearth. This is the Windshine Chronicles, and then but I also write extreme horror, and I have right now a book called Butchers, which is out, that came out in November. The Gray Man of Smoking Shadows is the second one for that one that comes out in probably like 2 months. And then the third one in that series is going to be called most likely Chingu, which is a Korean word for friend. And that should come out, I suppose, in the next 6 to 8 months.
Have you thought about doing a podcast yourself?
It's a lot of, because of where I am, it's always like a lot of trying to figure out times, and like right now we're actually pretty fortunate. The signal is fairly clear, but it's not always very clear actually, because I'm talking through across different time zones and across the world. So I don't know, maybe at a certain point, yes, but for now it's just a lot of coordinating usually just to get the time right and everything.
Well, when you say you like podcasts, I just want to point out you've got a lot of great ideas. You've got a great voice. You've got the patience and the mind for it. Strongly consider it. I'm just saying, it would be my vote if you have. Yeah.
No, I definitely will. Yeah, I definitely will.
Okay. Um, just for the record, a little worried that we might have some lip sync issues, but I'm going to try to correct that in post. Um, but in the meantime, your books that you mentioned are available for sale now. Amazon.
All right, they're available for Amazon right now. They actually are on sale. So for Kindle, they're 99 cents actually, but then for the physical form, they're between $5 and $10. But yeah, they both are on sale at Amazon right now.
That's a fantastic value. They're great books. Do you have a social media presence or a website people can keep track on the new works, the upcoming works?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I'm fairly active on Twitter with DENEVIUS, Denevius. And I'm also on Instagram, just under my name, Todd Sullivan.
Fantastic. I'm going to put those in my show notes so people can link straight to your books. They can go to your social media pages, follow you on that. I don't think I found John, so I'm going to look you up too.
Okay, that's fine.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, so anything else that you want to go over before we wrap up here?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, man. Thank you for the book and the recommendation, and I'm looking forward to the next few.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Have yourself a good night. Day.
All right. You too. Bye.